tips on changing careers into aviation after 40, choosing the right headset for your flight training, building hours effectively, and I'll give you an update on recruitment movements up here in Darwin. I'll answer all that and more coming right up. So strap in and let's get into it.
Good morning, 3640, 95 Mallow 7 POB with altitude.
Coordinating, Halen, I'm running bank balance, bank pressure rolling to 30 degrees. That's 30 degrees there. Semi star 9000, 1013, KFI 25.
G'day everyone and welcome to episode 157 of Flight Training Australia podcast. From Ardmore to Port Hedland, Hobart to Vancouver and everywhere in between, this is the podcast all about flight training and flying in Australia and beyond. G'day, I'm your host Trent Robinson. Thank you again for joining me and welcome to all the new listeners out there. It's been a fantastic week up here, hot, stinky, just horrible. But you know what? It didn't matter because I've been in the simulator doing some multi-engine IFR training and could not think of a better spot to be than in the air-conditioned comfort. In fact, it was getting too cold. We actually had to turn it off a couple of times. So, but it's going to be short-lived because I'll be back out in the aeroplane this week, starting off with a early morning charter run across to the TV Islands in the morning, hopefully finish off some ICAS for some line training. But then back into the sim not too long after that, so I can't complain too much. Well, a few things to talk about today, and I've just again been scouring the internet, looking at the questions that have been popping up, the messages I've been receiving and the emails, etc. And I thought I'd just cover off a few of these little things to discuss with you and hopefully set a few things straight, give you some things to consider and think about. Because these are common questions, keep coming up all the time for sure. And the first one is the leaping into aviation as a second career, especially, sort of 35, 40, and it is a big decision to make. And switching to aviation in life, it's a very daunting thing. It's hard enough when you're kicking off out of school and going straight into it. But look, it is absolutely achievable with the right mindset and the right plan, but it is, I guess, you could say time's of the essence, but you'd need to be realistic about your expectations and salaries, incomes, the time it might take. Some people manage to put it all together very, very easily and it all just comes off perfectly. Other people, it takes longer. And unfortunately, that is the biggest mystery of aviation, regardless of when you're starting, whether it's straight out of flight school as a young adult or as a more mature entry-level adult. There is no 100% you will get a job if you do this flight process. So, look, I'm all for it. I think at the end of the day, if there's something that you want to do and it's your dream and you want to go for it, then do it, but do your research. Be mindful of what some places will tell you because they're selling a product. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that, but you've got to look at everything in context with everything else and ask questions like a lot of you are online, which is good. But again, you've got to be careful there of getting people's jaded views when it hasn't worked for them. And we don't know everybody's stories, and there might be a reason why it hasn't. So again, airlines, flight schools, they value maturity. You're more of a stable recruitment prospect, in my view. They're not going to be moving around as much. You've got family, so jumping around from here to there and everywhere isn't really of big interest to you. And the big thing at the moment as well is you're bringing some life experience into everything. So these qualities definitely give older pilots an edge, and add to that decision-making and communication skills. All that life experience is definitely something that can come into play there if you've got the right mindset and the right personality. So the biggest things to think about if you are looking at a late change of career and coming into aviation is financial planning. I think it's got to be one of the biggest ones. It's a big investment, whether it's through the fee help VSL or you've saved up and funding it yourself, you're second mortgaging the house or whatever it is that you're doing. It is a massive investment. So you need to be realistic about that. the imposition that that's going to have on the family, or as you not working as a income earner anymore, or maybe you will be doing it part-time or something. That all needs to be very, very sure that you've got a clear budget and a plan for funding the training, understanding all the trips and traps. So again, if you do these fee help loans and everything else, there are times where if you are struggling a little bit, you may not make it through that phase, and you will need some money behind you to get you through that little hump to move into the next funded part of the course. So definitely do some research there and understand what's going on. Make sure you're medically fit. Before we lay out any money, most flight schools are very, very good at this, and they will always insist that you do a Class 1 medical before anything else, just to make sure there's nothing there that's going to stop you from being a commercial pilot. We've come a long way. It used to be able to not be able to wear glasses, and used to be certain heights and this and that and the other. And, now pretty much if you're fit enough and fit and able, you can get in and out of the airplane and do everything to do with it. Even with colour blindness now, we've got the colour blindness assessment process. Even that's not a complete deal breaker either. So make sure you're fit, get the medical all done, and any flight school will be able to advise you on the process on that and who your local medical damies are that you can get that done with. The other thing you got to think about is really educate yourself on the long-term goals. Depending on your age, trying to fly for the mainline airlines could possibly be too late. It will depend on how long your flight training takes and how long it takes you to get a job and build some hours up. Regional carriers and charter work, flying doctors, care flights, Aeromed, there's a whole range of remote and rural charter airline type flying. That's all absolutely achievable. Even, with all the FIFO sort of stuff going out at Perth, there's a lot of mature entry pilots in the 40s, 50s that are getting taken on and getting opportunities there. Still got a good 20, 25 years worth of their career left. So there's all sorts of opportunities there that can do it, but you need to understand each airline as an individual recruiter and what they will and won't take on. And the big thing is just networking. Ask the questions online. I've had quite a few people email me lately and looking at, they're working in a trade and going to switch across to doing flying. They've got even no trade or anything else to do to combine it with the aviation. It's just complete cold turkey, swapping everything around. So, introduce yourself on some of the aviation Facebook pages and that sort of thing. And just, this is what I'm doing. Anyone else had a similar experience, and see how it worked out for them. Take it all on board and weigh it up with everything else. Talk to your local flying schools, be prepared to move around for the best training options and see how you go. So just remember, it's never too late. Follow your dreams. In aviation, that passion and persistence can take you a long way. There's so many different opportunities out there. You just don't know where it's going to take you. So I say go for it. Good luck. Okay, moving along now to headsets. And look, I'll tell you, I'm going to just tell you right out, buy the most expensive headset you can afford, because the most expensive is not $20,000. It's just the best ones. And then there's everything under it, really. Look, headsets make such a difference to flight training. Even now, when I'm doing check flights for people up here in Darwin and they're using old, worn headsets, even relatively modern ones, but just ear seals that are shot and everything else, they miss radio calls. That causes them extra stress and frustration, and it can't hear your instructor properly and all those sort of things. So let's run through that quickly, because I'm pretty much giving everything away straight away. But look, I am so passionate about headsets. You want to get the best one you can, because it just does make such a big difference. It is one of the most important investments you'll make as a student pilot. I still have my original David Clark 13.4. It's there as my spare headset. One of the plugs was a little bit dicky. I had that fixed, but they still work. But the biggest thing about the DCs, as we call them, is it doesn't have a thing called ANR. All right. And that is obviously not something that's always been around, but it is now. and it stands for Active Noise Reduction, ANR. It's what we call noise cancelling. All right, it's great for reducing engine and wind noise, making long flights less fatiguing. You can hear each other so much clearer. You can hear the air traffic controllers better. I always know when a student or a pilot hasn't got theirs turned on because they crank the volume up so loud and nearly blow my eardrums out. And I also know when someone's been using an airplane before me with an older, crappier headset, a cheaper one, because again, they've got the volume up so high just to try and get it through the headset and make everything legible. All right. So you definitely, if you can afford it, do it. If it's out of your budget, there are some better PNR headsets, which are high quality passive noise reduction. They'll sometimes have gel ear seals on the headphones instead of just the normal foam ones. There are ways to help limit the noise getting in. But just the word noise is just like any earmuff. It is hearing protection. All right. So you really want good hearing protection. Your ears are a valuable part of your career. All right. We lose our eyes. We lose our hearing. We can't be pilots. It's something that's a requirement on the medical. So I don't know how many people that have been around cars or loud machinery that their hearing is shot by the time they're 35, 40. All right. So get the best headset you can. You want to be trying some on if you can. You can get them at your local pilot shops. You can also buy them online, but you want to try some headsets on, see how they feel, very much dependent on your head shape, the way they hinge at the top or a bit more oval shaped and pivot down on your head. That can be uncomfortable after a flight of 2 to 3 hours. Can start really pressing on your ears and applying pressure and hurting a little bit. So look for the lightest, best headset you can, something that's going to be durable. All right. You want to keep it in the headset bag. You want to look after it, especially up here in Darwin. When we finish, you want to give the earphones a wipe down just with the sweat and everything else. It's going to deteriorate the material on the earmuffs. Want to keep them nice and clean, tidy, give them a wipe down and everything every now and then. Now, they are expensive. All right. They do range from a couple of $100 right up to a couple of thousand, $1,500. It is tempting to go for the cheaper option, but just really try and hold out if you can, or buy one with the view of using that as your spare second headset and then get the better one later on down the track. But it is common for pilots to ask for something like this as everyone chip in for Christmas or birthday, or treat themselves after a certain milestone. So again, make that your choice, but make sure it's as good as you can get. Your brands like your Bose, your Lightspeed, David Clark's are certainly the most popular, and good for good reason. I'm not going to go into a consumer review on which one's better or worse or anything else. They're all amongst the same against the ANRs, but make sure as well is the aircraft works well in the aircraft you're going to be training in. Typically, you just want to get the standard GA plugs. One's a smaller one, one's a thicker one. The thicker one's your headphones. If you used to have an old hi-fi stereo system at home, that was the big headset plug you used to use, or for microphones sometimes. But for the aviation headset, the little skinnier plug is your headphone one, microphone one rather. And some airplanes, funnily enough, you might find different headsets can clash with each other in the cockpit. I remember getting this all the time and doing joy flights, and I'd have the good headset, and then we'd have the flight school ones for all the passengers. And especially if you plug them in the back of the 172, the impedance and attenuation levels for each were all different and were cancelling each other out. And eventually they had to unplug them because it was just taking out the whole system. You can get LEMO plugs, which is a powered plug that goes into the aircraft and powered off the aircraft like a USB kind of system, but it's a special little plug. They're very specific. If your flight school happens to have a LEMO plug system in the aircraft you're training in, I would still be hesitant or cautious to do that. You can get the 2 plug adapters for those. But again, it's just another piece in the cord that's going to eventually wear and potentially break down. So just be cautious with that. All right. But definitely try some different models if you can. See how you go. Flight schools will be able to give you advice. See what your instructor's wearing. If they've got a noise attenuating headset, try it on. It'll blow your mind, and then you'll be working out a way to make it happen. All right. All right. Building hours. A lot of people looking for aeroplanes to hire and for building hours. Quality versus quantity. Look, we have to have the quantity. We have to have a certain number of hours. No ifs, buts, or maybes on that one. But always remember, cheapest is not best. Quality is important. You want to get as much range exposure as you can. And, it's true. We've got to meet those minimum hour requirements for licenses. But you really want the quality. So get whatever variety you can. If you can try some different aircraft types. Yes, it might require a check flight and this and that, the other. But it'll serve you well to use your skills and adapt them to a different aircraft platform. Try and fly in a different location, different airport, different airspace, different weather conditions. Cross-country flights, night flying, and circuits, it's going to give you the best value for money there, which I understand kind of sounds like, well, isn't that all kinds of flying? But things where you're really putting skills to the test, not just going for a burn with mates, right? You want to be coming out of this spending money, being more comfortable, more confident, more capable, more job ready. If you're just a private pilot, just being safer, gaining more information, getting different points of view, right? Developing those skills, really using the building hours to refine skills. I've seen a lot of people just going out, smashing out hours, and I thought, well, you could have done this, this, and this, and got some nighttime or, done all manner of things. So really make sure it's structured. And if you want some help with that, talk to your flying school, talk to an instructor and go, what are some things I could do just to get the most out of these hours and my money? And I'm sure they'd be more than happy to help you. And if they're not, then message me and I'll give you some ideas. Plus, by going to different places, again, it's just networking. Consider our building jobs, ferry jobs, all sorts of things like that, where you can get connecting with the industry, just being at a different flying club, meeting other fellow pilots, career pilots, private pilots, etc. You just never know how that might stir up opportunities down the future rather. And try and avoid just logging hours for the sake of it. Don't smash the same place, the same location, the same aeroplane. It's not going to add to your experience. It'll boost your logbook, but it's not going to make much difference. And again, I've seen so many people do that. Come up here to Darwin, just banging around, even just in a 210. But if it's not been done with trying to, push on those commercial training aspects that are missing in a lot of flight training at the moment, you'll better fly the 210, okay, but you'll still be missing all these other things, and you could have got that when you did the hour building process. So really be sure about what you're trying to achieve, what your ultimate goal is, and it should be becoming a safer, more competent, employable pilot. All right, so good luck with that. All right, so speaking of employment, a few of you have been messaging me going, hey, what's going on in Darwin? Should I still just come up in January, start of dry season, all that sort of stuff? All right, so as I've sort of often said, the January, February used to be the time to come up to Darwin. There is no set time now. It is maybe slightly still more likely to be a better time to be here, but employment has still been going on through the wet season. Employment is still going on right now as you listen to this podcast. There are pilots applying. There are interviews happening. And one of the biggest drivers probably that will speed things up a little bit more is there's a lot of pilots on the hold files at the moment for some of the bigger mainline airlines. And that is being held up because aircraft like the Neo and the Max have not been delivered as per the normal schedule from Boeing and Airbus, and that has slowed things down. So once those aircraft start arriving, that will open up the training and the airline recruitment. That means everyone that's on a hold file will start getting notifications of jobs. which of course creates movement within and opens up those entry level and second jobs depending on what it is that you're looking for. Okay, so there is always a good time. You need to be prepared. You need to be ready. And work on those resumes. Make sure they're good. Get them into the employers. Make sure you introduce yourself. Take the time to talk to whoever you walk into and say hi. Be genuine. Find out about the company and all that. And remember that it's not about you. It's always about what you can offer the company, right? That's what you're there for. They're trying to hire you to fill a need that they have. So make it about them, not you. You will benefit no matter what. You're going to get a job. You're going to get into an airplane eventually. You will build hours and experience. Okay, it's a byproduct. But make sure that you are well presented. Take your time and don't be demanding and don't expect something to happen just because you're there and just because you're ready for a job. All right, there might not be openings now, but it will happen in time. All right, guys, that is it for this episode. I hope you have a fantastic and safe week. I'll be talking to you Monday next week from somewhere else. So I'll be recording it before I head off and all will be revealed, but I am ridiculously excited and very, very much looking forward to sharing this amazing adventure that is coming up. And it will be obviously all of my socials and everything else. So make sure you are following me on Instagram, on Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. And of course the YouTube channel. And there will be bits and pieces filtering out across them all. And also some exclusive stuff to my Patreon members. This will be a fantastic opportunity for me to actually put up some exclusive material there. So if you are not supporting the podcast and you would like to, if you are getting value out of these episodes each week and you can afford anything from $5 and above a month to help me out to fund activities, processes, videos and recording and everything else, then please feel free to jump across onto patreon.com/Flight to Training Australia. And all the links are in the episode description. I would love to have you on board as a member. And like I said, coming up next week, sharing some exclusive content with you all and weeks ahead of that afterwards, or weeks beyond rather, because I'm not going to be getting it all out in one day. I can tell you that. It's going to be fantastic. Lots more to talk about, and we'll reveal all of that. But all going well, should have a really great episode next week, which will be all about decision-making and effective communication. If there's one topic that I keep coming across with examiners and employers, it's decision-making skills. So I have a couple of dear friends with me who I'm going to be talking to from the airlines and also from an instructional background. And we will be talking all things decision-making and trying to give you guys some tips and feedback on what we're seeing and things you can do to help yourself with your decision-making processes, your confidence and all that. Alrighty. Well, that's it. I'm out of here, going to bed. And you guys have a fantastic week, like I said. And for now, please, guys, and remember the golden rule. Aviate, navigate, communicate. Cheers, everyone.